Yo, what's up and welcome back y'all to One Piece chapter 1036. I hope you guys had a happy holiday or a Merry Christmas, whatever you celebrate. And if you haven't been having a good one, then hopefully Santa Oda is bringing you some good presents with this chapter. One thing before we start this video though is that I have to say a huge thank you to everybody who supports this channel and subs and likes and comments and does all those crazy things for me. Like, we're sitting at 2,500 subscribers. Last year, December 11th is when I started this channel, and to me back then, getting 2,500 subs was foreign. Like, I never thought I'd make it this far. I thought I'd be maybe at, a couple hundred subs by the end of the year, but here we are sitting at this really crazy number, and I wouldn't have done it without you guys. When I first started making One Piece videos, after my first 2 reviews, I literally thought about dropping it because it's like, oh, nobody's watching my videos, like it doesn't really matter. I'm getting like 2 likes and 1 dislike, you know what I mean? But here we are, and I've found the courage to keep on making these videos because you guys watch this, and it really means the world to me, and you guys have made this year a freaking blast. And with this week, because the chapter was delayed, I decided to make 2 new videos where I respond to comments, and I also just talk about spoilers before the chapter is out, and you guys seem to like those videos, so I'm gonna make that a reoccurring thing. And if you guys have any more ideas on what kind of videos I could or should make in the future, let me know. I'm open to all of it, and I really do appreciate all the feedback and support you guys have given me throughout this past year. All right, so enough being sappy, we're gonna hop right into the chapter, and as we guessed it, Zoro took the W. Oda, for some reason, doesn't like showing these confirmed KOs at the end of the chapter. He wants to keep you on the edge of your seats, and with this chapter, it is confirmed that Zoro took the W. Personally, I really like the way that Oda finished off this fight. It had that sense of finality to it, unlike the Sanji versus Queen fight where he knocked him off of Onigashima, and then we were like, oh, that's it? Like, it's Sanji wins? All right, cool. This time around, Zoro beats King, but not only that, we get a brief flashback, kind of nail in the coffin right here, where we have King talking to Kaido, and he makes that declaration of loyalty to Kaido, saying, hey, I don't know if you're gonna be Joyboy or not, I believe you are, and I know you're gonna change the world, so you just keep on being strong, and I'm going to make you king of the pirates. I really like this flashback because it tells us so much and nothing at all at the same time. Because with the name drop of Joyboy, this means King knows Joyboy, this means Kaido knows about Joyboy, and they're just actively talking about it. And the fact that he brings up Joyboy and becoming king of the pirates within the same, phrase, it makes it seem like to become Joyboy, you also need to become king of the pirates. Beforehand, we just assumed that becoming Joyboy also meant that you had to become king of the pirates because you had to make it to Laugh Tale and find out what his treasure is. But in this chapter with King saying this, it really just nails it down for us even more. And he also implies that becoming Joyboy means that you are going to change the world on a drastic scale. I like Kaido's response in this flashback because he kind of scoffs at the idea, right? He's like, oh, Joyboy, I haven't really thought about that. I want to rule the world. I want to change the world, but I don't think I'm the change you're looking for, King. I don't think I'm your Joyboy. He didn't say that, but that's what he's implying by saying those words. And with Kaido saying it like this, it implies that Joyboy inherently has to be a somewhat good person. And that shines even more of a light on Luffy becoming Joyboy, which obviously, shocker here. Not like anybody's like, oh my god, Luffy's gonna become Joyboy? What is going on? No, we all assume this, and Luffy is the perfect candidate, and this kind of edges that along even further. One thing I am curious about from this flashback is that we all know that King knows about Joyboy because he's a Lunarian, and they are actively waiting for Joyboy's arrival or return. But how does Kaido know about Joyboy? I'm wondering if he knew about it because King just told him the whole story about it, or if Rocks had something to do with that as well. Alright, so since King had his little flashback of his determination and his loyalty towards Kaido as his candidate for future Pirate King, we also, hand in hand, get Zoro's flashback of when he decided to make Luffy king of the pirates and when he declared that he would not lose again, which is still one of my favorite scenes to date. In a way, I see this as Oda's way of saying, oh, King has very strong determination to make Kaido king of the pirates, but Zoro's determination is stronger. Seeing the flashbacks back to back and witnessing the battle from last chapter and their determination in those flashbacks to make their captain Pirate King it really hammers in the fact that these men, Kaido and Luffy, are top tier captains. They earned and garnered the respect of men like Zoro and King, and it's honestly incredible. It's like Oda hyping up Luffy and Kaido indirectly. Alright, so King continues to fall off of Onigashima. Zoro propels himself back to the Skull Capital, and this is when he makes a really cool statement. Like, he's not even talking to anybody, he just kind of looks at his swords and he's like, oh, if I have to become the king of hell, then so be it. And I'm really curious to see what his future wanted poster will say, because let's be real here. Pirate Hunter Zoro, he needs an update. Imagine his new title saying King of Hell Zoro, Roronoa Zoro. That would be absolutely hype, but that would only look well alongside Pirate King Monkey D. Luffy. One thing I am kind of curious about is that since Oda is kind of nailing in Zoro's new nickname as the King of Hell or King of the Underworld, it has a lot of credence to it, and it makes sense as to why Zoro will have that name in the future or title. But now I'm curious about Dark King Rayleigh, because we have Pirate King Gold Roger or Gold D. Roger, but now that I think about it, I wonder if Dark King Rayleigh actually had something to do with his ability and swordsmanship when he was in his prime. Since Rayleigh obviously didn't have the Yami Yami no Mi, I'm kind of curious to see what abilities he had in his prime that garnered that title of Dark King Rayleigh. If I had to put my money on something, I'd say that his Conquerors Haki and his COC was so insane that they're like, whoa, every time he hits somebody, black lightning is coming out of his sword. That's it. He is Dark King Rayleigh. Alright, so after Zoro lands on his feet, one of the Marys witnesses his giant W and announces this to the CP0 agent that is still in the room with the shamisen player, which I think is very curious, because I was wondering where this dude was at when they were fighting Apoo and Drake, and it turns out this guy stayed behind. And I'm wondering if it's because he doesn't have any real fighting capabilities. Because if you look closely to what he's doing, he's still playing around with that little board, you know, putting the numbers like, oh, here are the Beast Pirates, here are the Straw Hats, and who's winning here. And it's like, maybe this guy is the strategist of the CP0 agents. Maybe his ability has nothing to do with fighting, and instead he can just calculate perfect outcomes, which, you know, obviously is kind of a wild guess, but if I had to say, I would say this guy is not an actual fighter. He's just really smart. So moving on past that, he mentions that there are 2 monsters left, that even though pretty much all of the big players of the Beast Pirates are down, they still have Kaido and Big Mom, which is a huge equalizer, right? Because no matter how many Beast Pirates and Tobi Roppo and Yonko commanders we take down, we still have Big Mom and Kaido, which are huge players. And the thing is, when Oda shows us Big Mom, you know, going on a rampage down there, she looks like she's having the time of her life. If Oda, I guarantee it, if Oda had a couple more panels and he had to dedicate some to Big Mom, she would have almost the exact same ending that Luffy and Kaido had, where she's getting smacked around and she's like, wow, this is amazing, I'm having a great time. But instead of how Luffy is smiling at the end of this chapter, we cut to Kid and Law and they're like, oh my god, let's get the heck out of here, guys, because they do not look like they're having fun. Alright, so moving on, it looks like Oda is kind of treating this chapter as a recap summary for those of you who have missed the past couple of chapters, or maybe you forgot about certain plot points, because he dedicates like some random loose panels to what is happening around us, the threats that are surrounding us right now. We have the fire yokai that is currently going down to the lower levels of Onigashima to explode the whole island off of the sky. And we also have Momonosuke, who is currently still grasping at the flame clouds. I feel like the last 5 times we've seen Momonosuke, it's like the same panel where he's just like, oh my god, this is not working, what am I gonna do? I have faith in Momonosuke, and I know he will pull those flame clouds at the end of the day, but it is a little bit funny whenever we cut back to him every other chapter and he's doing the same exact thing to no avail. So moving on, we have Yamato finally arriving at the armory, and it is guarded by Roki, the last of the numbers, number 6. And I have never felt so bad for fodder before in my life. I don't know if Roki's going to be fodder. I don't know if the numbers are particularly going to be fodder, because they might have some bigger implications onto some giant experimentation later down the road. But right now, they're kind of being fodderized, right? And this chapter is no exception. Roki is taking a nap. This dude probably doesn't even know a raid is going on. And guess what happens to him? Guess what happens to this poor man that is just sleeping on the job? Yamato looks at Fuga and says, hey Fuga, I can take him down, which we all know. Yamato could take down Roki very easily. Hybrid form, Zoan form, attacking him with her Kanabo, it would have been game over. But she said, I don't have time for that. The flame demon is coming through the roof. I need to do something about these explosives. So Fuga, I need you to take care of him. And my man Fuga just straight up Hail Marys the man, tackles him, gives him the Nelson Goldman spear. And I kind of feel a little bit bad. I look at this panel right here, and I just feel pain for this man. For all we know, I doubt it, but for all we know, Roki could have been on our side. But yes, this man gets absolutely bodied. Fuga is ordered to take care of him, and we don't even see Roki again for the last part of this chapter. I'm honestly kind of hoping he gets back up and he's actually pretty strong and he gives us a run for his money, because I just feel bad for the man. The man's getting bullied. So after that, we cut to Usopp, and I really like this part of the chapter. Reading the spoilers, I didn't think I'd like it that much, but reading it and seeing the panels and the drawings, it just all comes together so well. So when we cut to Usopp, he's taking care of fodder. He hits him with a Dokuro Bakahatsu, and it's really cool because I don't know why, like, you see other Straw Hats taking down fodder and it's like, wow, that's so awesome, right? But seeing Usopp taking down fodder is a different level of awesome, because I know Usopp isn't strong, and we all know this. So seeing him do even small feats like this are pretty dang awesome. So he's taking down fodder, he's covering for Kinemon and Okiku, who are laying on the ground, semi-unconscious, and he wants to rescue them, but they do not want to be rescued. But he's like, oh yeah, sure, I'll just give up on you and I'll walk away. No, why would I do that? I came here to save you guys. Why do you guys have so much pride that you don't want to be saved? I hate your culture. You have to live. And I really love this, because coming from anybody else, it would be just a simple line, right? But coming from Usopp, the man who has faced death over and over, and the man who struggles to live every single arc, he is the best person to deliver these lines. If it comes down to it, Usopp is a man that would die for his crew. No questions asked. I believe this in my very soul. But he would do everything he can, everything in his power to live. Like, he would only do it if it's like the last case scenario. So when he sees the samurais, when he sees Kinemon and Okiku giving up before Luffy takes that W and before Wanno is even free, it's almost like an insult to him. And I understand his emotions, and it's really emotional when you think about all the developments that Usopp has been through in the entire story. So he tells this to Kinemon and Okiku. They are kind of shocked by Usopp being so passionate about this. And this is when you have Izo coming in, acting like a huge badass, shooting the guns everywhere, telling him to get down. And since Izo heard all of this, the respect Izo has for Usopp has like skyrocketed. It's gotten to the point where Izo even calls him God Usopp. Like, he's like, oh, the God title? It makes sense. It's justified by what he said. So once Izo starts covering for Usopp, he tells Usopp to run and take the both of them, in which he does. And now I am really hoping to get a fight with Usopp. I don't know who he's gonna fight. Everybody is being taken care of right now, so Usopp really doesn't have a real opponent to take down. But even if he doesn't get an opponent during this arc, I feel like having this moment right here is enough character development to say that he probably doesn't need a fight, and I'd still consider this a pretty big W. So moving on, we have a small little segment with Rizo and Fukurokuju. Like I said before in the spoiler review or recap or whatever you want to call it, I mentioned that Oda is saving the best fight for last, so that's why he's doing Luffy versus Kaido this chapter, next chapter, and he's only teasing us with Rizo and Fukurokuju. He's having it go at a standstill right now. All right, so all jokes aside, I really don't think Rizo and Fukurokuju is going to be like the ending fight of Wanno. But it is cool to see this. I do like to see different types of abilities being shown. And in this chapter, we see Rizo and Fukurokuju using pretty much the same spell to bind each other's movements. The whole room is engulfed in flames, and Fukurokuju is asking Rizo, hey, please undo this spell, we're both gonna die. And then he realizes that Rizo is actually on fire, and he's like, oh wait, no, you're fine, you don't have to let this go, you're eventually just gonna burn out and die, and I'll be fine anyways. But here's the thing, Rizo, you know, just say what you want about Rizo, I don't know if he deserves this really cool potential scene, but I can imagine Rizo being entirely on fire. And by that point, Fukurokuju just starts catching on fire, and he's like, oh, Rizo is gonna die at any moment now, and I can easily put out this fire and I'll be okay. But Rizo is gonna keep getting burned. He's gonna stay alive and conscious long enough for Fukurokuju to be defeated by the same fire that is burning at a lot slower rate than Rizo's is. So yeah, I can see this fight turning into a determination of willpower. Rizo being completely engulfed in flames, hanging on, staying alive and conscious, and Fukurokuju slowly burning, nowhere nearly as bad as Rizo. But he's like, oh my god, like I can't do this anymore. Rizo, please stop. Please just die already. But Rizo is going to keep on going, and I feel like that's how the fight is going to be concluded. And if that does happen, it will be a very, very badass conclusion. Alright, so moving on, we have a small segment with Hiyori and Orochi. And they're just straight chilling, man. We all thought that Hiyori was going to assassinate the man last time we saw them. But come around to this chapter, and dude, the dude has his head in her lap, and she's playing the shamisen, and he's like, hey, play my favorite song, and she's like, yeah, sure, why not? And it's like, wait, what if Hiyori is actually in love with Orochi? Alright, that was a joke, but imagine, that would be kind of crazy, right? Like, it turns out Hiyori's actually double stabbing the Straw Hats, and she's like, alright, time to save my master. So moving on now, we have Apoo and Inbi, who have escaped CP0. Apoo leaving another man to die. Who would have guessed it? He backstabbed Drake and even his own teammate Zanki, which is kind of crazy to me. And the fact that Inbi looks like he's having the time of his life. He's like, oh yeah, look, I just left one of the numbers behind. Awesome. And it's like, wait, like what is going on here? It's kind of funny to look at their expressions because, like I said, Inbi looks like he's having a great time. And then when you look below him at Apoo, he looks devastated. He's like, oh my god, how we lost this? Drake is down, Kaido's going down, I don't even know what to do anymore. I don't know what Apoo is gonna do other than escape with those photos of CP0. That is like the best choice for him, right? He's going to escape Onigashima, and he's gonna sell those photos to Big News Morgans, and that's a happy ending, or you know, the best ending Apoo could ask for in this scenario. Alright, so reeling it back a little bit, back to how Drake got backstabbed by Apoo. He is currently KO'd, he is out of commission, but I am glad, even though the fight got off screened, I am glad that the CP0 agent that he fought has a little bit of blood on him. He has some dirt marks. The man is not looking too hot right now, and he mentions that fight wasn't that easy. Really, if you get off screen, I think that's the best compliment you could ask for. Like, if you lose a fight and we don't get to see it, the best thing that could happen is that your opponent says, wow, that was pretty tough. Imagine the opposite scenario if Drake got defeated and the CP0 agent has no blood and he's just straight chilling and he's just straight walking like nothing happened. That would be a huge L. At least Drake got in some good hits. At least this guy admitted that Drake was a worthy opponent. Another curious thing is that the CP0 agent that took down Zanki, the number that he fought, has no damage on him whatsoever, which I think is kind of curious. I don't know if that's saying that Zanki was necessarily weak, or if I was correct about this guy's potential ability. So a couple chapters ago, when the CP0 agents were first introduced and were chasing Brook and Robin, they got engulfed by the fire yokai created by Kanjudo. And surprisingly, they both got burnt very heavily. But after they walked out of the flame, they were both surprisingly uninjured. No burn marks, no scuffs, no blood, no nothing at all. And this guy in particular really stood out as being nonchalant about taking damage. So after seeing this chapter and after seeing him fight Zanki and walk out with no attacks whatsoever, it kind of leads more credence to my theory that this guy has some really strange healing abilities. Alright, so after the two CP0 members are walking away from their battle, they get a call from the other CP0 member who is currently in the boardroom with the shamisen player, and he mentions about like, hey, did you capture Nico Robin yet? What's going on? And he's like, nope, but we're gonna do it right now. But also, the Luffy versus Kaido fight and the Big Mom fight, they're heading towards their conclusions, and if they win, then this will be huge implications towards what's going on in the rest of the world, which makes me even more freaking hyped about post Wanno. My favorite freaking parts of One Piece are not the major arcs, surprisingly. It's not the major fights. It is seeing what is going on in the world after each arc. Those are the episodes that I binge and I rewatch like no other. For some reason, it's just so hyped, like Luffy leaving Dressrosa, and then all of a sudden you see the other warlords, you see what's happening with Kaido, and it's like, wow, this is freaking awesome world building. And after Wanno, we're gonna get some major freaking bombshells. There's so much going on. What's going on with the revolutionaries? What happened to Sabo? What happened at the Reverie? What's happening with the SSG? What's happening with the warlords? There is so much to cover, and I cannot wait. And especially with next year being touted as the year of Shanks, and with his movie around the corner, we can only imagine that he will have some major part to play post Wanno as well. And now, on to the final part of the chapter. We have Luffy versus Kaido finally coming into the scopes. And it's really cool because I'm looking at this fight and Luffy is being hit by multiple combo blows with COC coating it. And this man is tanking it. He is absolutely tanking a lot of Kaido's hits. And if you look back at the beginning of Wanno, a singular attack with the Kanabo, no COC included, KO'd Luffy. So Luffy by far has had the biggest power jump in the entire series so far, in my opinion. Like, being this man that got one shot by a simple Kanabo attack to now being a man that's tanking that same Kanabo, but also coated with COC multiple times, is a huge feat and leap. And in this chapter, Luffy hits him back with a red rock, or not red rock, he just hits him back with the rock. And it's pretty cool because if you look back, this is one of the attacks that initially knocked Kaido down when they were on the rooftop. Luffy hit him with it again, but this time it is coated with COC, doing even more damage. And Kaido gets up like it's nobody's business. Luffy gets up like it's nobody's business. And they're both smiling. Luffy is smiling because he is surpassing all of the limits he had at the beginning of Wanno. He's learning more about Rio, Armament Haki, COC, and how to fight using his Devil Fruit. And Kaido is smiling because nobody has fought this man in so freaking long. Honestly, if I was Kaido and if I was so strong and I wanted somebody to fight, I would just start picking fights with admirals. Like, Kaido is definitely admiral level. You cannot tell me that he is not at least admiral level. And yeah, if the man really wanted an equal fight, why doesn't he just go fight Akainu or, Borsellino? It's probably because if he does that, he'll start a giant war and he's not ready for that just yet. But yeah, like I'm saying, man, like Kaido, there are opponents out there, but you're not looking for them. You're waiting for somebody to come to your doorstep. And here you have it. Merry Christmas to you. You have Luffy showing up at your doorstep and giving you a fight of a lifetime. The next time we get a chapter, it's going to be the start of a new year. And I'm really excited because whenever that happens, Oda likes to go all out. And with the next chapter potentially being solely Luffy versus Kaido, we can only imagine how hype it's going to be. All I can ask for, I'm crossing my fingers right here, all I want for that chapter is to have a really good flashback with either Luffy and Rayleigh or Kaido and Rocks. Another thing I'm really hoping for with the fight of Luffy versus Kaido continuing is to see a retcon of Zoan awakenings. So back in Impel Down, I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it one more time. In Impel Down, Zoans, when they awaken, we were under the notion that an awakened Zoan has crazy rejuvenative abilities. And, that was shown by the jailers being taken down and they get back up like an episode later. But this time around, with Oda having a lot more knowledge under his belt and with Oda, developing what Paramecia and Logia awakenings look like, I honestly feel like Zoan Awakenings are going to be completely different from what we saw in Impel Down. Because from a reader's standpoint, when you think about devil fruits like the Paramecias or Logias, they're so freaking cool when they're awakened. Logia's, dude, Akainu versus Aokiji literally changed the climate of an entire island. Doflamingo using his awakening and Katakuri using his awakening, dude, the freaking floors became their devil fruit. If Kaido uses his awakening, he can just stand up a little bit quicker. If he gets KO'd, he'll just wake up like, you know, in half the time. It's not as visually cool as Paramecia and Logia's, and I guarantee you that with Kaido's awakening, if he does have one, it's not going to be rejuvenative ability. That's such a hard word to say. It's not going to be amazing recovery skills. It might have that along with it, but I feel like Oda's going to give it something in addition to that. Now that I think about it, I could make a whole video talking about what a Zoan's awakening might actually look like if it was retconned. And you know what? You guys throw your comments down below and I'll compile a video for that and we'll just talk about it. And with that being said, y'all, thank you so much for watching this week's video. Like I said, I appreciate all the support you guys have shown me. Feel free to leave a like down below, a comment. It really helps out a lot. And like last week, I made a video responding to a lot of the comments left in this video. So if you leave a comment down below, you might be featured in the next video just with me responding to it or us talking about it. So yeah, it truly does mean a lot. It helps a lot. And if there's any kind of One Piece videos you guys want to see from me as well, leave that down below. And with that being said, y'all, have a happy new year. Have a happy holiday. You guys are freaking awesome. Catch you next time. Peace.